My friends, when we speak of the home, we are not speaking merely of walls and furniture, of doors and windows, of bricks and paint. We are speaking of a sanctuary of the soul, the place where the heart withdraws from the chaos of the world and seeks rest. Yet I submit to you today that even in this sanctuary, the silent power of color wields influence over our emotions, our thoughts, and even our destiny. Too often we treat color as decoration, as an afterthought, as a matter of personal preference. But let us be honest, is color not a language? Does it not speak without words? Does it not whisper into the subconscious, commanding feelings, dictating moods, and directing behavior? Psychologists have long studied this matter, and they tell us that color is one of the most powerful non-verbal communicators. A simple shade upon the wall can lift the spirit, or it can crush it. It can inspire tranquility, or it can ignite restlessness. It can stimulate appetite, or it can kill desire. If this is true, then we must ask ourselves, what language is our home speaking back to us through the colors we have chosen? And more importantly, what messages are being whispered into the hearts of our children, our partners, and even ourselves when we dwell within those walls day after day? Consider this: human beings are creatures of association. When we see green, we think of nature, of renewal, of growth. When we see blue, we are reminded of the sky and the sea, of calmness and vastness. Yellow reminds us of sunshine, of joy, of energy. But there are other colors, darker, heavier, unsettling, that plant different seeds within the subconscious. They do not speak of life, but of anxiety. They do not whisper of hope, but of despair. The human soul, sensitive as it is, cannot remain untouched by these subtle impressions. That is why a child may be restless in one bedroom, but peaceful in another, why you may be productive in one study, but lethargic in another. It is not always the furniture or the lighting, it is the color breathing silently into your soul. The ancients knew this truth even before psychology gave it language. Look at the temples of old, painted in uplifting hues to awaken reverence. Look at the palaces of kings, designed with colors that projected majesty and power. Even in scripture we see the tabernacle adorned with rich purples and radiant golds, each chosen not merely for beauty, but for meaning, for impact, for spiritual resonance. It is no coincidence that when God gave Moses instructions on the sanctuary, he specified colors. Why? Because God himself understands the psychology of sight, and he knows that the environment shapes the inner man. But today in our modern world, many treat color as fashion, as trend, as style. Designers will tell you, this year the modern color is this, the minimalist tone is that, and we blindly obey, painting our homes with little thought to the messages those shades send to our spirits. We forget that a trend does not heal the soul. We forget that what is fashionable may not be healthy. We forget that what is pleasing to the eye in a magazine may be destructive when lived with daily in the intimacy of our homes. I urge you therefore to reflect deeply. What emotions rise in you when you walk into your living room? Do you feel inspired to dream, to create, to convert, or do you feel drained, heavy, suffocated by an invisible weight? When you enter your bedroom, are you invited into peace and rest, or are you haunted by unease, by irritation you cannot explain? My friends, it may not be the stress of your workplace. It may not be the argument you had with your spouse. It may not even be the burden of finances. Sometimes it is the paint on your walls that is conspiring against your peace of mind, and this is where wisdom calls us to attention. If we understand that colors are not neutral but active, that they are not innocent but powerful, then we must approach them with reverence. For every choice you make for your home, you are writing a silent script for your daily life. If you choose colors that nurture joy, peace, and clarity, you are planting seeds of harmony in your family. But if you choose carelessly, you may be planting confusion, conflict, and even despair without knowing it. The home must not only shield us from the storms outside, it must not become a storm within. You see, the danger lies in underestimating the subtle. The greatest influences in life are often not loud, but quiet. Water dripping steadily carves valleys in storm winds. Though unseen, bend mighty trees, and color, though silent, has the power to shape human emotion, to determine the tone of a household, and to set the atmosphere of generations. Ignore this truth, and you live at the mercy of forces you do not understand. Embrace it, and you take control of the unseen environment that shapes your visible life. So I say to you, the home is not just a physical structure, it is a psychological ecosystem, and color is one of its most potent forces. Do not paint your sanctuary thoughtlessly. Do not reduce the matter to preference or trend. Choose with wisdom, choose with consciousness, choose with the knowledge that every shade speaks a language to your soul. For the wrong color can break your peace, but the right color can build your destiny. My friends, having established that color is not a mere ornament, but a silent language that speaks to the soul, let us now venture into deeper waters. Among the many shades that dress our world, there exists one color that consistently disrupts harmony when brought into the home. It is the color that psychologists caution against, that interior designers use sparingly, and that history has often linked with sorrow, fear, and instability. This is the forbidden color, the shade that many embrace in ignorance, only to discover later that their sanctuary has been transformed into a cage of unease. Now I do not speak lightly, for some will say, but is it not simply a matter of taste? Can we not choose whatever pleases the eye? And to them I respond, would you choose poison because it comes in a golden cup? Would you welcome a wolf into your sheepfold because it looks harmless from afar? Preference cannot override principle. What is destructive remains destructive, even if it appears fashionable. The forbidden color is one that draws energy away from the human spirit. It is heavy, oppressive, draining. When painted on the walls of a home, it does not create openness. It compresses. It does not invite hope. It casts shadows. It does not whisper peace. It unsettles. Psychologists tell us that this color is strongly associated with negative emotions, despair, anxiety, even aggression, and what begins in the subconscious soon manifests in behavior. A family living within such an environment may find themselves quarrying more, resting less, or sinking into unexplained heaviness. This color has found its way into many modern homes because it is marketed as sleek, bold, or sophisticated. We see it in magazines paired with polished metal or minimalist furniture, and we are told this is elegance. Yet let us not confuse elegance with endurance. Something may look appealing in a photograph, but become unbearable in daily living. A single glance in a showroom may deceive, but dwelling day and night within those walls reveals the truth. The forbidden color is like a guest who arrives dressed in finery, but once seated, begins to suffocate the atmosphere with silence and discomfort. There is also a spiritual dimension. Cultures across the world have long regarded this color with caution. It has been linked with mourning, with endings, with the void. In many traditions, it is the color of absence rather than abundance, of death rather than life. Even in literature and art, it is often used to symbolize danger, sorrow, or mystery. Now I am not here to demonize what God created, for every shade has its place in nature. Darkness too is part of the divine order. Night covers the earth, and in that darkness, seeds take root, dreams are born, and creatures find rest. But the problem arises when we import into our living spaces that which is meant for balance in creation, not for dominance in our home. What was meant to be a backdrop becomes a dictator of mood and mind. You may wonder, why is it so dangerous? The answer lies in its psychological weight. The human mind thrives on light, on openness, on expansiveness. This color, however, contrasts. It signals danger, creates alertness, and keeps the nervous system on edge. In small doses, it can indeed provide contrast, highlight beauty, or even symbolize strength. But when it becomes the dominant atmosphere of a home, it breeds heaviness. It is like salt in a meal. A pinch flavors but too much destroys. I have seen homes painted in this shade, where the inhabitants confess to constant fatigue, strained relationships, or feelings of oppression. They thought it was modern, but they found it to be suffocating. They thought it would bring boldness, but it brought restlessness. Even children, sensitive as they are, become unsettled in such environments, their creativity stifled, their joy dampened. My friends, let us not invite into our homes a color that serves as an emotional theme. And yet many resist this truth. They cling to the forbidden color because they have invested money or because they fear appearing outdated. But wisdom demands courage, the courage to undo what was done in ignorance, the courage to prioritize peace over fashion, the courage to protect the sanctuary of your soul above the applause of guests. For what does it profit you if visitors compliment your style, yet you and your family suffer in silence within those walls? Think also of prosperity. A heavy environment creates heavy thinking, and heavy thinking resists creativity, innovation, and productivity. When your surroundings whisper despair, how can your mind generate hope? When your environment drains, how can you pour into your work, your family, your future? A house painted in oppressive colors may unknowingly be painting the lives of its occupants with limitation. But a house filled with life-giving colors becomes a partner in prosperity, reminding the heart daily of abundance, possibility, and peace. I say to you, therefore, avoid this color in your home, not because it is evil in itself, but because it does not serve you in that space. Use it sparingly if you must, in accents, in art, in clothing, but never allow it to dominate the walls of your sanctuary. For when a color begins to dictate the atmosphere of your home, it is no longer decoration, it is domination. Let us remember, the home is not a museum to impress the world. It is a temple to nourish the soul. In this temple, choose wisely the shades that speak to your spirit. Reject what brings oppression. Embrace what brings peace. Do not allow the forbidden color to steal from you what is most precious, your joy, your rest, your prosperity. And as you reflect tonight, walk into your home with new eyes. Look not only at the furniture, the lights, or the design. Look at the walls and ask yourself, what message are they speaking into my soul? If the language is heavy, change it. If it is draining, repaint it. For the sanctuary of your life is too sacred to be surrendered to a color that works against your destiny. My friends, having unmasked the silent intruder, the forbidden color that drains the soul of peace and the home of harmony, let us now turn our gaze toward the alternative, toward the path of renewal. For if one color can oppress, then others can surely liberate. If the wrong shade can whisper despair, then the right ones can sing joy into the very air you breathe. Just as a seed grows best in fertile soil, so too does the human spirit thrive in an environment that nurtures rather than depletes. And that environment is painted not merely with brushes and paint, but with wisdom, with intentionality, with colors chosen to uplift, inspire, and heal. When you walk into a room, before a word is spoken, before a chair is pulled, before a conversation is had, your spirit has already reacted to the atmosphere. You may not notice it consciously, but your subconscious has already interpreted the hues surrounding you. It has already decided whether to feel safe, relaxed, energized, or uneasy. This is why a hospital paints its walls in calming tones, why restaurants use stimulating shades to awaken appetite, and why places of worship are often adorned with colors that inspire reverence and transcendence. Each choice is deliberate, and if institutions and this truth, should we not apply it with even greater seriousness in our homes, the very spaces where we live, love, dream, and rest? The right colors are not a luxury, they are a necessity. They have the power to reset the atmosphere, to align the energy of a household with harmony, prosperity, and peace. When you surround yourself with colors that symbolize life, hope, and openness. You are giving your mind permission to expand, your heart permission to rest, and your soul permission to flourish. You are saying, here within these walls despair shall not dwell. Here heaviness has no home. Here only joy, clarity, and renewal shall live. Think of green, the color of nature, of growth, of renewal. Place it in your home, and it reminds you daily of the possibility of beginnings, of the cycles of life, of the fact that even after the harshest winter, spring returns. It breathes freshness into your spirit. Think of blue, the endless sky, the vast ocean, the symbol of calmness and depth. Bring it into your home, and suddenly the storms of life are tempered by an inner serenity, for your spirit finds rest in its cool embrace. Think of yellow, the brilliance of the sun, the energy of light, the herald of joy. Allow it into your space and watch how it lifts gloom, how it invites laughter, how it ignites energy within the weary soul. These are not coincidences. They are truths written into the very psychology of human perception. But beyond psychology, there is a spiritual resonance to color. In the scriptures, light is consistently associated with life, darkness with confusion. Gold and purple adorned the temple, not by accident, but by divine instruction. These were symbols of royalty, abundance, and holiness. The Creator himself ordained that his dwelling place should reflect majesty through color. What then of your dwelling place? If God considered color worthy of divine instruction in his sanctuary, should you not also consider it worthy of careful choice in yours? Too often we underestimate the power of our environment. We imagine that our struggles are only external, financial, relational, societal, while neglecting the internal battles fought in the unseen atmosphere of our homes. But let me tell you, a chaotic environment breeds a chaotic mind. A heavy atmosphere breeds heavy heart. Conversely, an environment filled with light and life-giving color creates the soil in which peace and prosperity can grow. It is the invisible architecture that supports your visible destiny. Do not think of this as mere aesthetic. This is about aligning your outer world with the inner life you desire. Do you want peace? Then let your home reflect calmness in its shades. Do you seek abundance? Then let your environment symbolize growth and prosperity. Do you crave clarity? Then surround yourself with colors that invite focus and stillness. Every choice of color becomes a silent affirmation, a daily declaration of the reality you wish to live. And I say to you, let this not be confined to walls alone. Think of the fabrics you sit upon, the curtains that filter the sunlight, the rugs that meet your feet, the paintings that gaze back at you. Each of these is a canvas. Each of these is an opportunity, either to add weight or to lift the spirit. The wise do not treat these decisions lightly, for they understand that a home is more than a building. It is a reflection of the mind and a projection of the future. There is also a communal dimension. A home filled with peace-giving colors becomes a school of harmony for the family. Children raised in such an atmosphere learn subconsciously to associate home with safety, joy, and possibility. Couples dwelling in such a space find that their conversations are calmer, their rest deeper, their conflicts less frequent. Guests who enter such a home leave refreshed, carrying with them the fragrance of peace they encountered. The right colors do not bless only you, they ripple outward, shaping the experience of all who cross your threshold. So my friends, what shall you do with this knowledge? Will you continue to let your home be painted by fashion magazines and fleeting trends? Or will you reclaim the authority to choose with intention, to design with wisdom, to curate with consciousness? The home must not be surrendered to the dictates of the market. It must be shaped as a sanctuary for the soul, a place where every wall testifies of peace, every shade speaks of hope, and every color affirms